And I got to know these guys for a while now. Is it the third time I've been here?
I think so.
For the Explosion event? Yeah.
You look great, Bob.
So do you. So today we're going to talk about teams. And you've got two very, very different team leaders here. And I want to ask a question of everybody in here. How many people, with a show of hands, have a team right now? And how many people have more than 10 people on your team? Keep your hands up. All right. Why are you here today? Anybody?
Learn how to build a
Just
team.
didn't have anything else to do? Learn how to build a team. Yeah.
I'm a team leader who wants to share that with my agents.
Okay, great. How many people are on your team?
I don't have a team, I lead an office.
You lead an office. Okay, great.
I want to know team structure, how you divide up the duties within the team.
Team structure?
And I form a team. And I'm the regional manager for Nevada, so teams are really big out there, so we're restructuring and trying to build teams.
Okay, great.
Let go of control.
Let go of control. But do you have to let go of control? Do you have to let go of control?
In certain areas, yes,
certain areas,
absolutely.
okay. All right, so what we're going to do is start off, introduce yourselves, guys, and explain what size team you have.
I'm Adam Briley. I'm right next door. I've been doing it for about 13 years now. Jeff and I feel like we got into it about the same time.
Yeah.
So, my dad actually is why I got into it. He's been doing it for like 30-some years. He was always a one-man show, so I got in and started building a team. And now fast forward to now, and right now the team size is, I always count by office, but there's 7 agents, including, then there's myself, I have 2 staff, and then my father, Mike. But when I'm running the team, I guess I'm considered the team leader. My dad, I love him, he's a hardworking man, but he's not really involved with the day-to-day stuff. But other than that, he's always like we call him the Godfather, right? So, but yeah, other than that, like it's just there's been lots of ups and downs with real estate and building a team. There's a lot of learning stuff, which I'm sure all you guys know too, and that's kind of what makes it fun too. So, I don't know.
Great, Jeff?
Yeah, so this is my office, this is my space. Omaha's Elite Real Estate Group was our tagline before I joined my mom and dad back in 2006. I had an undergrad in business and decided to get into real estate, which is, everyone's always like, what did you do before real estate? I'm like, college? Everyone's like, oh wow, it's like shocking. So I joined my mom and dad, kind of the same story. I wanted to build the team out eventually. Back in 2011, we started our team. Prior to that, we were the Cohn team, and it was what I call a community team, where me and my mom and dad just shared in our overhead expenses, but anything I sold, I kept all the commission. Anything they sold, they kept all the commission. It was kind of a funny story. Adam and I were part of a mastermind group, and we were at different brokerages, and there were about 3 or 4 other agents that were part of this, all kind of forward-thinking, younger, millennial type of agents. And we even at one point talked about partnering up. Me, Adam, and another agent with a really big personality. And Vince was like, you guys are never gonna make it. He's like, that's way too many Chiefs on one team. And he was right, but what's been great is even though we all went different ways, we're all still very close friends, and we've all helped each other grow. And we've always had that mindset. Yeah. We've always been really open. And even like last week, we had one of our trainers go and train Adam's team on some of the Boomtown functionality. And Adam's helped us with tons of our marketing. We've stolen all sorts of ideas when it comes to charitable events and things like that from these guys. So we're always helping each other grow. But today, we went from 2011, I was a single agent essentially with my mom and dad, to last year, we're up to about 45 agents, about 5 admin, 2 full-time virtual assistants. I have a lot of direct reports, which we'll talk about today as well, so that I could stop worrying about everything and let other people worry about some of those things. So we'll get into more of that.
All right, for those of the people in the room that want to start a team, what is the one criteria that you think that they need to have to start a team?
So I'll take that first. Leadership is going to be big. And for you to be able to lead, you had to have done. And I think a lot of times people like get their real estate license and say they want to build a huge team, and they'd never sold a house. And you're only going to be able to lead up to the amount of value you're able to offer. And so Jim Rohn has the quote where your level of success will never exceed your level of personal development. I was an agent for 6 years, and I know Adam was an agent for a really long time as well. I had done hundreds and hundreds of deals. I had done all of the hard jobs. I ran my own signs. I put lock boxes on. I did the paperwork. I did everything. I did my marketing. I met with clients, listing pres, buyer pres, everything. And so I came to a point where I needed to leverage my time, because most agents get stuck at about 75 to 100 transactions on their own, even with an admin. So I knew I wanted to break through that, and to be able to break through it, I needed to add agents.
Yeah, I would say, number one, you're never going to perfect anything. It's just, you know, for me, what's more important is action over perfection, and sometimes that's hard. But for me, what was the biggest thing you can do is probably just add a really good support team there, good staff, and I've had my ups and downs with good staff over, yeah, especially my first 5 years. You know, I had to go through a couple of them to realize who's the right fit. And then I also realized when hiring the right staff to make sure they're supporting those agents, make sure that you're paying them good too. Not only are they're financially taken care of, but show them that you care. And then as long as I feel like if you have good people like that, they're like your anchors, and then you can really build a good team around that too. That's kind of the model I've went off, I feel like, as far as making sure that they're there to take care of them and help you grow.
So Adam, how many transactions did you know you needed to have before you actually grew the team?
You know, I don't think I agree with Jeff on the whole 75 to 100, because I still actively sell. I love selling. And I probably will do anywhere between 75 to 100 transactions. That's kind of my cap. Anything above that, my work life, or I don't know if I really truly believe in work-life balance, but the whole throwing off that whole thing is what kind of got me at probably 100 transactions. But it's really when you start, you want to grow, right? You want to help other people grow. You want to grow yourself. And that's really when I started realizing of, you know what, I can bring, it started off bringing a buddy in, and I love him. He doesn't work with me anymore. But it's not always the best way to bring your best friend in, who is your best man standing at your wedding, to have come work with you. But it kind of started there, and it was kind of like, I didn't have like a set thing. I just knew I wanted to grow. I wanted to keep exceeding, and then and help other people. That's really what I want. I want to see other people succeed.
There's a hand in the back. Go ahead.
We're going to talk about like financial structure, because that's one of the big things I'm struggling with, is like when we bring in a buyer's agent, how that looks on paper, and how we formalize everything. So
We'll probably leave time, 20 minutes at the end for Q&A. You guys can ask whatever you want. And both Adam and I are very transparent.
Yeah.
I think that's something we really pride ourselves on. All of my agents know what my net income is every year. I'm fine sharing my financials with them. So we can show you all of that as well today.
We're definitely gonna get to that point. There's a lot of questions when we did this last year. There were a lot of questions about when do I start a team? So a lot of people were doing maybe 15 or 20 transactions, and then they're hearing, you know, Jeff and Adam talking about 75 and 100 and 150 transactions. It's way out of the realm. Does everybody agree with that? Might be a question. So how do we scale to the 20 transactions to 100 transactions or 75 transactions without having a team?
Right. So it depends on how you spend your time. You know, if you read, I really like the book, The One Thing by Gary Keller. There's a quote out there that says, it's not just about being busy, so are the ants, it's what are you busy about? And I think a lot of times agents are hustling and moving, and they say they're so busy. I hate it when people call me and they're like, I know you're so busy, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, they're like people talk a million miles an hour. I'm like, I'm in my pool right now. I'm not busy at all. I built a business so that I didn't have to be busy. Like, I'm done being busy. Tuesday, Thursdays are pool days for me in the summer. I'm serious. So I think it's important to be focused, laser focused on what you're busy about. Obviously, prospecting is the #1 area where a successful agent should spend their time. I think over 20 hours a week in prospecting, 3 to 4 hours a day. A good goal is 20 contacts a day if you want to hit Adam's level of 75 to 100 sales. 20 contacts a day, 5 days a week. And then always have a process. Once you talk to someone, have a system where you put them into a database like a CRM, like Boomtown, which we have both used and have had a lot of success with, and make sure you continually build relationships with that person. Vince talked this morning about trust. We always talk about people do business with people who they know, like, and trust. And you can live just off your sphere, but I got to a point where I was kind of reached a diminishing return within my sphere, and I wanted to go bigger, and that's where I started doing outbound prospecting with like Expired and FSBOs, and we started generating internet leads. And that's where I saw a need to have a team, as I was maxed out. I was working 50 hours a week. I always took Sundays off, but I was putting so much time into my business and losing out on all these experiences with my family. I have 3 young kids, and I was like, I got to do something different. And that's when we decided to build our team in 2011. So my best year, I was about 70 deals in 2011. And then the next year when we started our team, we had about 6 agents and did 240 sides. Last year we did 730 sides. This is our Gecko board. This is our year to date. We're at 453 units and 90 million in volume. So my big why was I wanted to live my life, and I loved what Adam said from teaching other people and leading other people. Adam's always been a great example of that, and that's something that I aspire to do as well. Is if you guys become experts at selling, giving yourself to those agents that choose to align with you and help them become what you were. And that's a true sign of a leader. True leaders serve their followers and help them become them.
So I'm a little different than Jeff. Like I love selling real estate. I love putting in my time. I love working with my clients. So I got one a formal team member and another team member in here. So maybe they'll correct me if I'm wrong. But I like to think that I lead a little bit like by example. So I'm out there, I'm grinding it out, hustling, but I enjoy it, right? I have 2 younger kids, so I do make sure that. I would say 5 years ago, it was a lot of that, or maybe 6, 7 years ago, it was a lot of that busy shit that it doesn't matter. Like there are so many notes I would take that I'm like, why the fuck am I putting these, sorry, Jeff.
They'll edit it.
Why am I focusing on this kind of stuff, right? It was totally irrelevant. And then you just start learning like what you got to start focusing on, and it's prospecting, it's working your certain database, making sure that you're taking care of your clients, right? And I feel like that for me is making sure that you're always putting your client above everything else, then shows to the team members, making sure they're doing that as well. But for me, it's totally a lead by example, just because that's where I don't take Tuesdays and Thursdays off for pool days. Not saying that's wrong, I love that. But I feel like when I don't work as much, that's where I get myself in trouble. It almost affects my mind. Like I start going backwards. So what's that?
It's the control thing.
Yeah, and it's like I've let a lot of control go of my team because my team runs itself, and that's what's great. You still got to spend time with them. You got to make sure you're nurturing those relationships with your team members, make sure that they're getting what they need, and not only on a business level, on a personal level. Like you got to be there for them personally. But yeah, when I'm not constantly chasing something is where I feel like I start going backwards. And really, it's a mindset thing for me. So
both of you needed to be the rainmakers, bringing the leads in before you actually started.
Correct.
Absolutely.
And where are your leads coming from, Jeff?
But right now we do about 1/5 of our deals come from internet leads, and about 3/5 come from our agent sphere of influence, and another 1/5 is from their outbound prospecting efforts.
So ours are different. Our biggest lead source is past-time referrals. It's been changing. That was our biggest one. It was radio 3 years ago, was our biggest source of income, or for our best ROI, biggest source of business. And then it was our past client business. And now I would say it's probably our Zillow leads. I've been up and down with Zillow. I started with the low budget, went up high, then went back down again. Now I'm really high again. But Zillow for us is by far our best moneymaker. Right now so you kind of talked a little bit about budgets. Right now my Zillow budget's over $12,000 a month on just Zillow alone.
And we're on a panel this afternoon speaking exactly to lead gen. But we're $8,500 a month with Google Ads and Facebook. So this is a prime example of how we do it very opposite, but we're both having success with those leads.
Yep. So Jeff, who was your first hire on your team?
It's a transaction coordinator. That's in 2007. My first year, I hired a transaction coordinator right away.
Full time?
Yeah, I made 96 grand my first full year in 2007 and hired someone for $30,000, 1/3 of my income. Really?
We both made that.
Took 1/3 of my income and decided I would have someone else do all the minutia, the signs, the lock boxes, the paperwork, to free me up to do the things that mattered most, which was prospecting and meeting with buyers to do exclusive agency, meeting with sellers to sign listing agreements, and then I believed everything after that could be serviced by someone else. And so very quickly I had listing partners and buyers partners that I could turn things over to. Real quick plug, I own a coaching business called Elite Real Estate Systems. You'll probably see our booth downstairs. I have Jeff's business plan on our main page of our website if you want to download it. And it shows the step-by-step process of how to scale a business the way we have. It's on eliterealestatesystems.com. There's a little drop down, you can download my business plan for free.
That's one thing you'll see with Jeff, guys, is like he truly knows how to run a business and scale it. And I give him all the props in the world for that, just because he's taken to a whole nother level, so it's awesome.
Thanks,
so other than family, Adam, how did you hire the first buyer's agent? How did you choose that person?
It kind of just happened, and that's where, again, this is another thing where Jeff and I do it differently, is I don't do any active recruiting. It's kind of none. I never even put the word out. That I never in my wildest dreams thought my team would be this big too. So that's another thing. I never set out, I'm gonna have this many people on my team. for me, if I set that, I feel like that would have been a mistake for me to have a certain number of agents. You know, for me, it kind of happened, right? It's all about having the right people on the bus, and that's really where I've lived it. Is I've had great people leave the team, and I've had to let go of my top performers. So, for me, it's the biggest part of making sure they're right. But it just kind of happened, and I feel like the reason why that happened is that we really worked, and we still continue to work on creating a really good culture, but also making sure we're providing value to the agents. And I don't want this to come across the wrong way, but I do feel like we kind of give out that we're the kind of the cool kids type of team, right? And
They're all really attractive too.
but you know, and then so by that there's a lot of times I get calls, I would say once every 2 weeks, of agents saying, hey, are you looking to bring someone on? And most of the time it is no, right? But
What are those people thinking when they call you and say, are you looking to bring someone on? What do they want?
most of them are, I would say 90% of them are 40 years or younger, and they want to be a part of something, right? They want to be a part of a team. They want to be a part of a family, or they want the guidance, they want the training. Some of them have either been doing it for 5 years and they're kind of in that rut, right? And they're just not getting anywhere. They're not truly growing. Or some of them are just brand new and they don't know where to start. So
Jeff, you've taken training and coaching to a whole different level based on your experience in growing your team. Mm-hmm. Tell us a little bit about what everybody in this room needs to actually be able to coach and train a team.
Yeah, I think a lot of times we get nervous about training our agents. If anyone in here, who here does training every week or once a month with their team? A lot of times we take for granted all the information we have up here. We do these listing presentations over and over and over again, but think we can't train on the listing presentation. Just show your people what you do and how you do it, and they'll follow you and they'll implement those things. Same with a buyer presentation or how you negotiate a contract to get the best deal for your client. For us, we are a coaching company first and foremost for our team here in Omaha. And what we decided is so many agents across the country needed access to this content. We put these cameras in the room. We have a $50,000 essentially studio in this room. We're bugged with mics. These are $1,500 mics. We have 12 of them. And so all of our Wednesday, Friday trainings we make available to all of our agents. So our agents can watch them virtually. And I think we're going to see a lot more of that going into the future, where people won't be able to meet in one location because the commute time, or they have kids at home or something like that. So our agents can attend all of those trainings here. So our big focus was pouring our attention and time into the agents that came into our group. One thing we do a little bit different than Adam's team, all of Adam's agents are really top producers. They're all rainmakers, I would say. Most of them are over 10 million in volume. A big thing for us was taking agents that weren't rainmakers, that were struggling, like doing 7 to 10 deals, and show them how to do 30. And in Omaha, if you do 30 deals, that's about a 6-figure income. So everything we built was essentially a machine that would allow an agent to plug in from a training standpoint, accountability standpoint, lead gen standpoint, office space. We have coaches. We do weekly training twice a week. I mean, we built a machine that would allow an agent that does 10 deals a year to plug into our system if they were willing to put in 40 hours a week, and they could end up doing 30 deals. My ultimate goal was that I could step out of servicing the deals. I don't like I hate real estate. Like, honestly, I'm burned out. I've done hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of deals. I'm done listening to clients bitch and moan about all these little stupid things. I'm sick of overcoming the objections. So I wanted to teach other people how to do it. But more importantly, I wanted to teach them to stop selling real estate as well. So I'm on stage every month. I speak all over the country. And my first line to kind of get people upset is, everyone today needs to choose to stop selling real estate. And everyone's like, what is this guy talking about? And my whole mindset is focused more on building a business. And not everyone wants to do that, and that's fine. But wouldn't everyone in the room love to have the option of not having to sell? I don't know where Adam's financials are, but he's probably at a place where he could choose to not sell if he didn't want to. And that's the place I wanted to get to. I started my team when I was 30. I thought by the time I was 55 or 60, I'd be there. In 2 years, I quit selling real estate. And so people always ask me, when's the time you can stop servicing? The time you can stop servicing is when you make the same amount of money off your team as you make off of yourself. And your team is not profitable if it's not a true team if it's not profitable unless you're selling. So I believe in the CEO model. If you read MREA, Millionaire Real Estate Agent, Gary Keller talks about working 5 hours a week and making $1 million a year at 7th level. That was my goal, and I accomplished that about 3 years ago.
So Adam, are you a coach and trainer every day, twice a week?
not like Jeff, no. I envy that a little bit. I do. It's not, I'll never be that way. I thought it, I would say 6-7 years ago, I thought I was going to be that way. I wanted to be a speaker and a trainer, and I suck at speaking in front of people. I'm an introvert. I'm kind of shy. I'm like, ooh. And So no, again, mine is, and Jeff, you just made me think too. Like we have so much in our heads that we have so much value to provide, and that's really one of my weaknesses. Is how do I really put that on, whether it's on paper in a structured format. The only way I know how to do it, guys, is just showing it is in person, or showing it by leading by example, or I'd like to say every single week the last couple of weeks we've had stuff going on, or normally on Tuesdays we do our team meetings. Well, we didn't do that today. Sometimes there's things that throw that off, so it's not extreme. It's not always every single week. It might be we try every week, but and in those team meetings we'll maybe talk about issues that are going on, and just kind of sometimes they're 20-minute long and sometimes they're an hour long.
Does that satisfy the agents that are on your team?
I would say so, but maybe I can ask Nick back there, who he can tell me yes or no. But I feel
Nick, are you jealous of all the trainings that are going on over here? And he's literally on this other side of the wall. He said they all put cups up during our trainings listening.
No, you always think about being obviously to come over here and take a training that we want to, but no, I think with our team meetings, we ask our questions and we cover what we need to cover. And, I think we don't shy, so we always, that's our chance to kind of talk a little and go. Perfect.
Jeff, you have online leads. Do you have an ISA? Somebody who handles just the online leads?
No, so I believe the agents should do that. I think they can fail forward and learn a lot by scrubbing their own internet leads, and it builds their confidence with overcoming objections when they have interactions with their sphere of influence and their own outbound prospecting efforts. I do own a call center in the Philippines. I have 150 virtual assistant callers at 1000callsaday.com, but we only utilize one of those for my real estate team. We have 2 full-time callers for my flipping business. I flip about 100 houses a year here.
What was the question?
The question was, do you have an ISA? Do you have somebody who handles it?
I've dabbled in it over the years, but I never feel like it really worked out successfully. The thing we've recently done is we hired someone. It was the ISA company. We hired them to really take over our social media aspect of it. Just like making sure we're having consistent email blasts, or also whether it's Instagram or Facebook posts, that sort of stuff, and then just having that consistency there. But no, not calling our leads. I agree with Jeff on leaving that up to the agents to call them, build that bond. And
a lot of how I've built my business in Adams the same way is I want to treat the people that we serve the same way I'd want to be treated. And I don't want to call for the biggest transaction of my life and talk to somebody that maybe doesn't fully understand the market, and then they hand me off to somebody else. Like, no one wants the handoff. And so to me, I'm like, we have our agents on a 24-hour rotation. Each agent gets a lead day once a month, and that day they get 50 leads. We've been averaging 2,000 leads a month for a really long time. So they're expected to be physically in the office from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m., but the leads start coming in the night before at 8 p.m. So they take all leads that come in 24 hours, including all the sign calls. We use a Google Voice number on our sign that directs to whoever's on duty that day. So every day there's somebody covering every lead that comes in, and then we have a whole slew of expectations of exactly the touch points they need to have with those leads so we can convert at 3%. And if you'd like to have access to know exactly how we do that, you can download the PDF on EliteRealEstateSystems.com. You'll actually get that when you download my business plan.
Okay, so you have a business plan. Do you set up a separate business plan for each one of your agents, and do you hold them accountable to
Absolutely, yeah. So we have a success coach. He was in here, Andy Cuny. He's also one of our coaches with our coaching company, and he meets with all of our agents that produce over $4 million a year every week for 20 minutes. So at the end of each year, every agent on our team has to define what their 5-year vision is. And then we help them determine how much money they want to generate off of their 5-year vision. So maybe they need to make $30,000 or $100,000. Each person on our team defines how many sales they want to have based on the life they want to live. And then we reverse engineer their overall sales goal. And let's say someone wants to make $100,000, that's 36 sales. You'd assume you divide that by 12 months, but we don't do that because we know the months don't have sales equally. So we'll give them goals like January, February, March is 2 sales, April, May, June is 3 sales. And you'll see on our board here, it shows each of the agents' goals. So Courtney had 3 as a goal this month. He sold 8. This person had 3. They've only sold 2. So every month, each agent knows how many sales they need to have to be able to arrive at their income goal to meet their life goal. And to Adam's point, a lot of these one-on-ones aren't about them making their calls. It's life stuff. It's the life stuff that gets in the way that keeps us from fully reaching our potential. And so we spend a lot of time in counseling sessions in the one-on-ones helping people through other things. Because we want them to be in a good place when they're going and serving their clients.
Adam, do you have a business plan for every agent? Do you use Gecko Board?
I use Gecko Board because I stole it from Jeff. It's an awesome system, actually. So what I do is I just do one-on-ones with them. So we don't have like a written out, is basically what I do is I'll going into, so generally like November, December, we'll talk about their next year's goals. And then it's not like set meetings with them. It's sometimes it's like, you know, maybe it could be someone on the team that maybe is going through more stuff personally, and because for me, I don't always look at what they're doing business-wise. I'm looking at what are they doing personally, right? Where if they're not selling anything and they're going out and they're going to the bars, drinking and partying all the time, well, to me, it's like that needs an adjustment. We'll stop going to the bar so much, and you'll probably start selling actually. Or
Golfing every day, Ben? Well, I'm at the pool, you're golfing, right?
But if they're in the office every day and they're cranking it out, and sometimes like Amanda, she's an agent on our team, like she's one of my top agents and she knows what the heck she's doing, but she'll sometimes go through these really low points, but then she'll have like a $2 million weekend, right? So, but she's always consistently right around 8 to 10 million. So for me, she's up there. So it's not structured. It's just when I feel and they feel like we need to sit down. And I would say I would like to say it's probably once a month. It's probably once every 2-3 months is really when we're having an individual. Otherwise, it's just a group setting.
So you like to sell, right?
Love it.
You like to sell. Now, when she's in one of her slumps and she needs help and you're out selling, how do you address that issue?
So I would say 90% of my business is working with sellers. Well, so I don't have to, I'm not actively going out in the field, right? I'm just sitting in my office or I'm available so for me, by focusing more on sellers, you guys all know that, right? We're working with 10 buyers. Well, no, you probably can't run a successful team, in my opinion. So I think you got to make that switch of just working with mainly just sellers and maybe your top buyer people. And then that way, that alone will give you tremendous time for family, for your team. To me, that was the biggest switch.
I second that. That's the only spot I will go on listing presentations if it's a VIP lead, and I'll spend 1 hour with the seller. Once they start signing the listing agreement, I walk out and never talk to them again and turn it over to a listing agent. And I set up that expectation with that seller. And I like to look at how I spend my time and what my dollar per hour return is on my time. For all of us in this room, I would guess that's going to be our highest dollar return, because in Omaha, we're making $7,000 on commission on one listing. So I let my listing partner keep 25%. I keep 75% because I generated the lead and secured the listing. She takes it from listing to contract and then can turn it over to our admin staff for contract to close. So I average $5,000 an hour on a listing presentation. So I used to be too prideful to take the listings, and I'd be, oh, I don't list anymore. I'm going to turn this over to someone else. Well, the people I was turning it over to weren't converting. So I was losing all this money. I'm like, I might as well just let my pride go, get in the trenches and go on a few appointments. And I'm actually okay doing that. But I could not work with a buyer. That's what burned me out.
So Adam, how many transactions did you close last year?
Personally,
Your team?
I would say just 390, 380.
380 transactions. Yeah. Would you want to share your admin costs?
Yeah, so basically what I do is, just to round it out, this is why I should have probably had my wife be here actually, but it's probably around, total admin cost is probably around 40,000.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're a much bigger team. You've
Yeah.
got a lot of people working on your team.
Yeah, I'm twice that, but I'm including myself. I'm about $400,000 a year, but I have to pay myself to cover
That
for
doesn't
tax
include
reasons and
myself.
stuff. And you pay yourself a salary too. I pay myself $10,000 a month. That's how much my accountant said I have to pay myself. But I have 2 full-time admin, one standing right here. Our admin both make around $45,000 a year salary, and that's 40 hours a week. They can take off, I think, 10 or 15 days. How many days off do you get, 70? 15? 20? Are you kidding me? Oh, okay, good. I've got my success manager makes 84 grand a year, so he's like my business manager. Anytime my agents have issues, they can't contact me, they contact him. If he can't solve the problem, he can contact me. And then my admin, for a long time, were managed by our operations manager, who makes $114,000 a year. And anytime the admin had issues, including our sign runner, and we have all these other people that report to him, they would reach out to my direct report, who's my ops manager. So ultimately, only 2 people within the organization can reach out to me, which is the way I wanted to structure it. Any strong business, the CEO usually has 2 to 5 direct reports. So as you guys scale your business out, don't let everyone have access to you, because you'll get stuck in all this minutia of little questions of people asking you to solve all their little problems that they should either be able to solve on their own or go to somebody else within your organization to help them solve it.
See, and I make myself available to my agents, but the thing I'll give to my agents is that they know when they need to ask something and when not to. But I always make sure that I'm there for them to help them out. Like if they have a major issue, call me at midnight. Normally if one of my agents is calling me at midnight, which that doesn't happen like ever, but it's probably something serious. And normally it's probably a personal thing, right? So I want to make sure I'm there for them, so.
So buyer's agents, listing agents, on your team, how many buyer's agents and how many listing agents?
Well, for me, everyone's classified as a buyer's agent. I would love it if every single agent on my team just worked with sellers and we just got rid of all of the buyer lead gen stuff. I would love it. I mean, because they would make substantially more money, they would have a lot more time, and everyone would just be a lot happier. And then that way, when I have a young team, so when they start growing their families, I know that they have that time off they can spend with their children. So that is my ultimate goal, is to get everyone over that hump. But as you guys probably know, when you first start, you feel like you got to take on a couple buyers, or 10 or 20, and to get that income coming on and also get that experience. But
There's also something to be said for a shifting market. Most places in the country right now are in a seller's market. When you're in a seller's market, you want 60 to 70% of your business to be sellers and 20 to 30% to be buyers. When you're in a buyer's market, you want 70% of your business to be buyers and 30% of your business to be sellers. In a buyer's market, if you have a strong sphere of influence, those people aren't moving. They're not selling because the market's down. So I would recommend to everyone in the room, be cognizant of that and have a structure where you're maybe 30 to 40% buyers and 50 to 60% sellers. But I agree with Adam from a workflow standpoint, listings are going to be best. It's very hard for a lot of us that have gone out and taken listings. If you don't have the experience of representing buyers, it's going to make that listing presentation that much more challenging. And so on our team, we let everyone work both sides, but it's best practices that somebody doesn't go on a listing presentation alone. If they've never gone on one before, they'll bring somebody else with them on maybe their first 10 appointments.
So Jeff, I'm on your team, not really, but if I was on your team and I had 3 sellers that wanted to list, how would that look? Would I bring them to you? Would I go on?
No, every agent, we have almost 50 agents, they all can go on a listing pres and list under their name as primary agent, and then I'm secondary on everything on the MLS, and they all can work with buyers as well.
And you've already established my percentage.
Absolutely.
When I list that. And how do you reconcile that with your broker, Vince?
So I have a deal with our broker where I pay $1,000 a month to be able to be at a 94-6 split. I hope this doesn't get me in hot water with your brokers.
Let me just stop. So this is all very regional, very to this company only?
And this was what he had prior to coming on to Berkshire. So he grandfathered all of us into the same deal we had when we were at Prudential. So just so everyone knows how the splits work, if they want to know, and this was his question, we're 94% of every deal that comes through comes to JMC Holdings, which is my company. Last year we made $3.2 million. That doesn't include the 6% Berkshire kept. GCI, right? So then we pay our agents on a graduating scale from 60-40 to 80-20. Vince has a policy, if you're a team leader, that you can't pay your agents more than 80-20 because he doesn't pay his conventional agents more than 80-20. So he doesn't want to incentivize people to go onto a team when he's wanting to recruit those people for himself. So my agents increase their split by 5% every million they do in volume, and it's recalculated at the end of every calendar year. So if you do 4 million or more, you could be at 80-20. And something we added 18 months ago is we had about 10 agents that for a long time were producing over 4 million that wanted to build their own teams and could have potentially left my team to go to Vince and become a 94-6 split and get their own office and start their own team. And we wanted to be able to continue to retain those agents and teach them how to step out of the business if they wanted to. So we now have up to about 12 teams within our team. So a lot of times this is like a new mind shift. People are like, are you freaking kidding me? It's like, I'm running a brokerage within a brokerage ultimately. If we were a brokerage, we'd be the 6th largest in Nebraska right now with our team size and sales.
But you're an anomaly. You're huge. Adam.
totally different. I don't even know what the question was really.
Essentially, how do you pay your buyer's agents?
So
if I was a buyer's agent and I brought a listing, would you pay me the same way?
Yeah, so our splits are the same no matter what. Whether it's a team-generated lead, whether it's their own SOI, it's the same splits. And I don't change it for anyone. There's no like giving the higher performer a better split. It's a scaled system. Yep. So everyone starts off. I did change it this year. I was based off volume, and then I changed it based off you start on a 50-50% split, and you can work yourself up to a 65% split. And then it resets every year. So what I changed this year was I based that strictly off of gross commission that comes in. I can email you guys all this, so if you guys want, catch me later, I'll email you guys the exact breakdown of this. But it starts at 50-50. Once they hit $25,000 in gross commission, it goes up to 55% split. It might be a little off on these numbers. Then once it hits like $67,000 in gross commission, then it goes up to 60. And then there's the next tier until it goes up to 65% split. Now, what the other thing I incorporated this year, which I want to, so in our market, we've always been good about getting 6 and 7% commissions. Well, in a seller's market, now you got Joe Schmo who's charging 4% or 5%, and ABC Realty. So now we got to compete to that. I personally like buyer's agents or buyer's markets better because I feel like you can demand a higher commission, right? So what I wanted to start doing was incentivizing my agents to go get higher commissions. So if they get a 6.25% commission, I'll pay them an extra 2% on top of their split. If they go get a 6.5% commission, I'll pay them an extra 5%. If they get 7, I'll pay them an extra 7%. So I did that just to incentivize them to, because then they win, I win, and I want to mentally train them that I don't know where your guys' markets are, but I've been in the rut of doing 5% commissions, and it was a hard rut to get out of. Like it was just my mind, right? You start devaluing yourself. So it's like, listen, I work my ass off to get your home sold. So I generally won't take anything less than 6.25. It'd have to be a really rare situation, but
We're the same way. We don't go below 6. If an agent does go below 6 without our permission, we still pay our company out as if it were 6%.
How important is the relationship between a team lead or team owner and the brokerage owner?
I think that's huge. That's why I came here.
Yeah.
I was running into a lot of issues with my independent brokerage. My team continued to grow like a brokerage within a brokerage, and I think that they were more and more fearful that I would leave and start my own company to compete against them. They kept on, I had all fixed costs. I was smart when I got into my initial deal with them. And as my team continued to grow, they weren't making any more money because I was pretty much fixed. And so they kept looking for other ways to get money grabs. Vince was always so open, willing to help us build our teams. That's one reason Vince has had so much success, is he embraced teams before anyone else, I feel like, especially in our marketplace. And 3 years ago, we left our indie brokerage to join Berkshire Hathaway. Most of that reason was because of Vince just letting us go and do our own thing and not constantly getting in our way.
He's been probably one of the biggest mentors to me. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
You know what, let's open it up with some questions, specific questions.
We have to what, 11?
We have,
Does this end at 11? So 40 minutes.
we have 40 minutes. I have more questions, but I thought we'd take a short break.
45?
Shauna?
I have a question. It sounds like your teams are very young. Are they in their 30s?
I would say the oldest, not counting my dad, the oldest person on my team is 39 years old.
39.
Andy,
Young team.
will you speak to this one for us?
How about you two?
Yeah, I think we're probably the same. What's our average age, Andy?
I would say it's probably low 30s,
And we'll embrace anyone. The challenge we've found is a lot of times people over 45 or 50 have not embraced our technology. And our business is all technology. All of our contracts are electronic. We use .loop for Teams. Everything has to go into Boomtown. Everything gets tracked on Sisu. We started using a different technology. We're not using Geckoboard any longer. It's called SISU. They're downstairs, actually. So I feel like not that you couldn't do that, obviously, if you're in your 50s, but a lot of the people that we've worked with that have been in real estate a really long time do not do a great job at plugging into our tech-savvy office.
So what would you advise to a rainmaker who wants to grow a team? They always say they always have that mindset, my people want me, they don't want to be handed off to somebody else.
So the question is,
expectation.
The agent is to get over that.
the question is, if you're a rainmaker and is it the sellers want to deal only with you?
The agent thinks that.
I'll take it first. So if you're a rainmaker, but the agent, our mindset is no one's going to work with my clients as well as I do. Your problem is that you're too focused on your clients. You need to be focused on building a business that teaches other people to work with their clients. So stop thinking about how am I going to continue to service my own clients and start thinking more about how am I going to teach all the agents that are in part of my organization to connect and embrace with their clients. Your client database will continue working with you if you want to service them on the listing side, but all the buyer opportunities you're going to turn over to somebody else.
I would say you're probably too focused on yourself. I've never had an issue with someone like a buyer, whether it's a buyer or a seller, going and working with someone on the team member, you know, just because but that's why you got to be selective on who you have on your team. I mean, if you have a dipshit, sorry, you probably shouldn't even have them on your team, right? So if you're hiring right and then you should have, that should never be an issue.
I would say
think it's totally a mindset thing.
Another thing on this is your team should be what's providing them the value, not the individual's experience, but them being part of your team's transaction, from your admin to the sign runner to whatever other person is going to touch that file. That's what your friends and family are plugging into. So they'll still reach out to you because they want to be serviced by this team that you've created, not necessarily getting your time and energy. I've been able to suffice most of the time when I have leads that reach out to me from my personal sphere, as long as I give them a 30-minute meeting to talk about the house they're going to buy or house they're going to sell, they're okay with me handing them off to somebody else. 95% of the cases. They just want my expertise on the front end to give them some advice, and then they're okay with me turning them over to one of my agents.
Going off of the financials, and I'm not trying to get you in trouble, I just, like, how do you have that conversation?
None of us are going to be in trouble.
Right? With your broker, like, how do you have those conversations? Like, especially, like, my brokerage, we don't really have teams. Like, there really is, and they've had a couple, like, husband and wife teams, or, like, but there's no, like, teams. So how do you go from being this individual agent who probably is, you know, a top producer in the office, I have an admin, now I'm like, you know, how do I approach that conversation about how much they're going to quote-unquote get? Because I want to protect myself.
How many of you are at a brokerage where the broker is not super accepting of teams? Just out of curiosity. Is not accepting of teams. Because these are hard conversations. Bob, I'll let you take that one from a corporate.
Well, I think that's essentially why, that's part of the reason why Berkshire Hathaway wanted Vince to keep doing these things. Is because this is the biggest trend that you're seeing right across the country. It started, what, 15 years ago,
Probably,
teams?
yeah.
So, and there's a lot of people that just aren't accepting of it yet. So I think the biggest thing I would tell you, there's not gonna be a perfect system. You gotta start the conversation. And then it's gonna be trial and error. Like, you know, Jeff may be locked in whatever you might talk about now for fees or anything like that, it might need to change because it might not make financial sense.
A deal I
for
negotiated with Vince, he had to change his whole company policy so that whatever the deal was he gave me, he would honor it for everybody else.
Correct.
So I would go to the broker for anyone in this situation and express to them your desire to start a team, just like they have a brokerage, and ask them if they're a true leader that cares about your success and growth. Shouldn't they allow you to build your own company under their company? And if there's not an opportunity for you, you might have to look other places. And I'm guessing if they're smart business people, they're going to come up with a solution for you. But you have to show them that fear of loss.
Any brokers in the room that would like to express an opinion on that? Okay.
The regional manager, so
Sure.
I'm on 25 offices, and one thing that we've seen become an issue is we want to embrace teams, but you have to have structures in place if you don't have that to make sure that current teams aren't stealing your agents, because you want to have that. You have the same commission.
Vince has a policy, you can't take his agents.
Right.
No. He can take ours though.
And then the biggest thing one of the biggest problems we're seeing is, you know, you want the team to get bigger because that top quartile, they're growing, their market share, they're making money. However, I call it the team spread, where this office is a little different than where I am. We have a lot of regional offices and they're 2,000 square feet. So this is great, you have your own space, but all of a sudden the team has 2 desks, and then they move outside that office and take 3 more desks. And then that team's taking a lot of the floor leads and the leads coming into the office, so agents start saying, well, wait a minute, Adam's team has 6 people on his desk and they're getting half the leads. So it's managing that expansion and that growth.
We don't take any of the company's leads. You have to be your own business essentially when you go to start your team.
And here's what will happen, like Ben, who's in the back room, like he was on my team. Well, he left my team to go start his own team, like, and he's gonna kill it. Jenna's another agent. She was a top performer on my team. Like, so what will happen? I mean, this will happen is that no matter what, people get to a point where like, hey, I'm going to go start my own team. And I would say 99% of the time, they're going to stay at your brokerage. So now, really, I hate to say it this way, but what people like Jeff and I, what we're doing is we're helping grow these guys up, and essentially they're going to go start their own thing. So in the end, maybe in the short run for brokers, I see that because I'm biased towards a broker. I'm always, maybe it's because I love Vince, but I'm always going to try to look out for his best interests too because he's helped me so much. But that will happen. I mean, you're going to see that, and then. But I think the other thing that probably helped Vince is incorporating broker flat fees. It's the same thing that helped us offset a lot of fees is incorporating broker flat fees. So like on buyer sides, we charge $595. Vince takes $265 now. And then on sellers, we charge $695. He takes the same amount. So I feel like those fees, it's helped offset a lot of those expenses as a broker.
As you approach your broker and let them know you want to do this, it needs to be a win-win. So don't go in thinking your broker is making millions of dollars a year off of you.
No.
They're not. Their margins are really tight. This is something I wanted to speak to when it comes to defining what you want your commission splits to be. There's a billion ways you could do commission splits. At the end of the day, what matters most is how much you're paying out in agent commission when you look at your profit and loss statement. So my belief is that you should pay out around 60 to 70% in agent commissions. So last year I paid out 70%. So I made $3 million gross, but 70% of that went to my agent commissions. So you can do the math on that. 10% went to overhead, and I netted 20% of GCI. Most brokerages are lucky to net 5% in an average market. So I chose to go the team route because I could make 4 times as much as a broker. My goal is to be the same size as Vince's brokerage. I'd love to have 500 agents and be making 20% off of them.
One thing you find too, as on the management side, when you look at these teams, is you brought up where your cap is, and I'm sure everybody's market does get different. It's different where I am. You know, we found that 30 transactions, somebody needs to start building a team. They just can't handle that. But what you found is as a leader looking down, you're sitting there saying, hey, if J.D. Smith is capped at 30 transactions, boy, if she brought in a buyer's agent and she can now do 45 transactions, it's that much more revenue.
Absolutely.
So you kind of, as your office leader, broker, should be forward thinking, being like, wow, if you're sitting there saying I want to build a team, show them a business plan like how I could double my business, which means more revenue to your office.
So on that same line of thinking, Adam had talked about the perspective of we're building up agents that go down to Vince, and I've lost a handful as well. Probably over 10 of our agents in 3 years have gone down and now are under Vince. And to help us stop the bleeding with that, we started empowering our agents to build their own teams, like I said earlier, within our company, and they get everything that Adam and I never had. So like we pay their agents all the commission splits, we generate leads for their agents, we give them access to all of our systems. Our overhead is $60,000 a month to run this beast, but it's all fixed costs. So there's no reason I wouldn't allow my agents to build teams within with that same mindset that net, they're gonna do more deals if they have a team within my team than if they're all alone.
Question.
Speaking of the team within a team.
Nikki, you can't ask any more questions. She was at our workshop yesterday.
Reset.
Okay, reset. New day.
Number 1. And I'm in your round table. Question 1. With regard to teams inside of your team, are they naming themselves or do they?
They can be their first name, they can be a new name, we don't care.
You know,
So the Nikki Group with Omaha's Elite at Berkshire Hathaway HomeServices Ambassador Real Estate.
Right?
Right, that would be your name.
Okay, so you can
Be whatever you want.
scale it down.
Yep.
How do you handle marketing?
15 minutes.
Is that kind of all on you to generate leads, to bring the business in?
That's a good question.
Do you have expectations of your team members to do some of that too? Like, do your team members do their own thing on Zillow? Do they own do some different things other than own houses and basic stuff?
We like our marketing to be very consistent, like so all the branding's the same, right? So, but yeah, I encourage that, like, we call it a shitty letter. So like a couple of the people on the team have been sending out these letters to like kind of farm in neighborhoods in a way, and it gets great returns. So we'll test things that work, but overall our image looks the same. Like we either do we do a ton of shirts, we do our buyer seller magazines, everything's the same there. We take care of our Zillow budget. We keep it fairly simple when we're talking about marketing. I mean, it's really like, it's our Facebook, Zillow, and taking care of our past clients. And really that's it.
How do they get their marketing materials created?
So we do all that. We take care of all that. But again, we have the marketing material. It's like Apple. Apple just created a BA phone, and you're gonna use it and take it, and it's just, we create the marketing materials for them to use. I truly believe, I'm biased, but I feel like we have some of the best marketing material in our market, by far.
It looks really good. I don't know that that's what gets you leads though. For us,
totally.
My biggest thing is communicating to the leads. So Boomtown, plugging all the leads into that, everyone's on drip emails. No matter if they're buying now or in 100 years from now, they all get an email from us either every week or every quarter. In addition to that, we send out an email through viral marketing where I, as the CEO, create a video of value that I think people would find interesting. It's a 90-second video. And then viral marketing, who's downstairs, by the way, there's a booth. They have a booth. They write a big article all about that, and then there's call to actions in the email. I have 150,000 people in my list that I've built over the last 7 years that we mail to, email to. I don't do any paper advertising, and then all of our listings all have to look the exact same in the yard. So they all have the Omaha's Elite logo with an office phone number, but each of our agents are allowed to put their rider with their cell phone number. And then, like I said earlier, true leaders give their followers the ability to be just like them. All of my agents can create marketing service agreements with lenders and vendors. We generate about $10,000 a month doing that. I have agents making $2,000 or $3,000 a month. They can have their own relationships with their own vendors. They can have their own branding. They can do their own marketing, their own Zillow, Google ads. Everything is trackable, so we can put little code behind all of the links that they would put out there so that when those leads come into their website, they get the credit for that lead. And they get paid differently if it's a lead they generate versus a lead we generate.
All right, so next question.
So out in Nevada, we have several different markets. It's luxury, and then we have, like, so we have KW and their expansion teams that are just killing us out there.
Talk really loud. We have this really awesome heat pump right above me.
So KW's huge out there, but their cap is $19,000 a year. So the team pays $19,000 a year, and then they're at 100%.
So each agent has to have cap as well.
So the team leader has to pay 19, but their buyer's agents and everybody else on the team only pays $8,500.
Right.
So how do you compete with something like that? As a
Yeah,
team?
so what I would recommend to you, anyone that ever wants to match one brokerage to another, what I did was I put it all into an Excel spreadsheet. So when we moved 3 years ago, I had 5 brokers, 5 separate spreadsheets that would help me figure out if I had 50 agents, if I had 100 agents, if we did X amount of transactions at Y volume, where would I net the most? And I would make on paper the least amount here at Berkshire. And I chose Berkshire because it's not just about your commission split. Think of the conversation you have with a potential seller. You're having the same conversation with me right now. It's not about the net amount that you earn. It's about the value that broker's going to bring to you, the brand. And that's why we chose to be at Berkshire Hathaway.
So I will also say, because it's a plug for what I do and the company provides, people like Jeff, people like Adam, who've grown up in a team environment, they've created systems and they provide training. Most agents aren't great trainers, nor are they great managers. Once you have a small team going, you can send them to the Berkshire Hathaway HomeServices training. You can assign them the training, and it's provided free. Keller Williams charges for everything, so you've got to add that into your spreadsheet when you're creating that.
Yeah.
Question?
Just a question in general about, with your team, you maybe feel like you plateaued, right? We're a team of 7, and we've kind of done the same volume the last few years. What advice would you guys give as to how to expand that? We're pretty localized.
Right.
How do you kind of, broaden that brush?
So I'll answer it quick. Any group that wants to continue to see growth, we've gone out, I've visited over 50 brick and mortar top teams all across the country, and we'd go to one team that's stuck at 250 and another team stuck at 600, but I see this trend where people get stuck, and the reason is they don't continue to focus on growth. So number 1 is recruiting, number 2 is retaining by offering value, and number 3 is training. So if you're continually building your people up, there's no way the sales are going to stay the same. If you're continually adding more people to that system you create, there's no way you're going to stay the same. The reason we stay stagnant is because we get too caught up in the weeds because we're rainmakers and we're not focused on building our business. If your focus is building the business, you will continue to grow.
I would say just figure out why you're doing it, right? Is focus on why you set out to build a team in the first place. And to me, that's what helps. Like, I said this though, for me, I'd rather focus on smaller amount of agents and help them grow their business within and see a lower number of agents do more business. So for me, it's trying to get them transitioned to, my goal is to have all of them be $10 million producers. And then, but how do we do that? And then helping them truly grow their business. But that's just where I'm at. For me, running a team takes a lot of time. It's a lot of time, it's a lot of energy, it's a lot of mental energy, it's a lot of emotional energy. So I feel like you got to really figure out why you're running a team and why are you truly doing it. For me, it's to help them grow. And
until you have it all leveraged and you're at your pool, it really doesn't have to be so hard. When I came over, we were at our first mastermind at Berkshire when I was the new kid on the block. And one of the agents, Teresa Elliott, was like, I don't know how you do what you do. And I was like, what are you talking about? She's like, how could you manage 50 agents? I said, I don't manage 50 agents. She's like, how do you manage all your admin? I was like, I don't manage my admin. I have 2 direct reports. I spend 5 hours a week on my team. And all of us can get to that point. Wherever you're wanting to leverage, a great book, The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team by Patrick Lencioni, will teach you about the place you need to be within your organization, doing the things that you love and that you have passion for. So You don't have to continue banging your head up against a wall to be able to grow if you want to. For me, I was able to define exactly what my net income was per agent. It was really interesting because it was consistent with KW's cap. I make on average $25,000 an agent. In real estate, there's no residual income. As a team leader, each of your agents, look at them as a rental property. This sounds horrible. But look at them as residual income. As long as you can retain them by offering them value, you're gonna make 25 grand a year every year that they choose to stay within your organization. Don't think brokers haven't defined how much they make per agent that are within their organization. The number's probably a lot lower. Maybe it's 5,000 or 8,000 per agent. So your goal then just becomes adding more agents to that wheel. That's how I've looked at it.
So adding more agents, but you've also got to provide leads.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about in the next hour.
Yeah.
You had a question?
Looks like both of you are completely different,
Talk loud.
Yeah.
You can yell at everyone. The back corner. Ben, can you hear him?
I think both of you are doing different approach, different mindset, from what I understand. In terms of hiring, what is your philosophy when you hire a person for coming into the team? What do you look for? If somebody comes in, I had a situation, I was in a community gathering and somebody approached me and said, hey, are you looking to add somebody, a realtor? She's a fresh graduate from college.
Right.
She's looking for something.
We got it. I get the question. Tomorrow we're going to have a roundtable on recruiting, retaining. I'll speak to it first. I'll take anyone that's willing to work hard. I don't care about their unit sales or their volume or their production or how much they make me. I care most about their attitude and their willingness to work hard. That's what we look for.
I only look at, like, if I could have them come over and sit with me on my dining room table, can I sit down and talk to them and bond with them and connect with them? And like, I got to make damn sure they fit in with my team. And I've been wrong. I mean, I've made mistakes, right? So then you gotta let go. I mean, you have to be quick to fire.
Yeah.
If they're killing your culture, this was 3 years ago. I fired she was my top performer, and I mean, she was at 13 million for the year. It was October. I mean, she's killing it, and had to let her go. It was just a cancer to my team. So,
What was she doing?
What's that?
What was killing the culture?
You know, I think everyone goes through this phase of like they hit a level, and then they start maybe demanding different attention, and they forget how they got there, right? So it goes to their head. And I'm sorry, like, I was there. I'm 32 years old, and I was the young dumb punk that was way ego driven, and like, you gotta throw all that shit away. Like, it doesn't matter, right? I mean, so I feel like they're gonna hit that, and that's just part of life. Like, she's gone on and she's done great and good for her. It's just, it wasn't a fit for me and how I was running. It was such a drain on me. And I was like, man, it sucks, right?
The 5 Dysfunctions, there's a character named Nikki in that book who is that person that you're speaking of right now. And if you have that person, even if they're top producer and they're draining everyone's energy, they're the poison in the office,
you're gonna
let that person go.
I mean, go with your gut.
Minimum production requirements. We do not. I don't think it's my job to define the vision that person should have in their life. Our organization was built to help everyone at any point be successful, and they can choose how successful they want to be on their own. So each of our agents define their own call goals, their own sales goals, their own net volume goals. Back to attitude, that's my number one focus, is that people are going to plug into our culture and that they're going to work hard.
So in my manual, yes, technically I do, but I'm not going to go fire someone because they're not hitting their minimum, right? So I truly, if they're out playing all the time and not focusing on growing their business, then it's probably not going to be a fit. Now, if they're spending time with their family or that I'm not going to ever, harp on. But if I want people that want to strive to go be that $10 million plus producer, that's what I want ultimately at the end of the day.
So how important is the Gecko board to having people realize that they're not right for the team?
Well, so back to his question, which we'll get into tomorrow a little bit more with retaining. Everyone is under a microscope within my organization. So even that agent that only wants to sell 3 houses, everyone's watching them only sell 3 houses. Birds of a feather flock together. So I say, a little tongue in cheek, we'll take anyone, but people that aren't playing at a big level don't want to be part of our group. It's like people that don't want to work out hard aren't going to a CrossFit gym in the city. They're walking on the treadmill at 3.0 miles per hour, right? So our team is the CrossFit gym, in my mind. We expect a lot more than most organizations would expect, and to make sure that we have the right people that fit well, they have to go to all of our stuff for 3 months before they get a formal offer on our team. So we'll take them on and they'll put their license with us, but we put them in what we call probationary stage, where they have to go through our onboarding. It's a 6-week onboarding process. And then if they're a sub-agent, someone that's gonna be on a team within our team, they have to interview all the team leaders, and then we have to make sure that they're a good culture fit and see how much stuff they're going to. And if they have proven to themselves that they fit into our culture, then they'll get more of a formal offer.
And your onboarding process, is that part of your business plan on as well? Is that something else?
That's separate. That's part of our coaching. So we offer, if I can do a quick plug, Elite Real Estate Systems just became an affiliate coaching partner to Berkshire Hathaway about 6 months ago. And we offer for $17 a month access to 8 hours of our training content every month. But for team leaders, we do like a private podcast. We have about 100 people in a group virtual coaching session every week. It's every Thursday at 10 o'clock, and you can come in and interact via instant message or watch all of the recordings of the sessions. We deep dive into all these topics. Everything we've talked about today, we go into it for an hour and get into the weeds of all these topics.
So we have 3 minutes left. I just want to do one thing about convention. Jeff, you were at convention. We did a whole track on teams last year. Who went to that? Okay, so we're going to do that again, but it'll be in a whole different point of view. We're also having a couple of sessions for broker owners, managers on how to work with teams, and I'm going to have Vince Lisi be one of the panelists on that. Any other questions before we close out? It's 10:45.
Great questions, you guys. That was awesome. Grab me off record if you guys want to come up and have any questions for us. Thank you.